Hello guys, welcome to my channel. This video is a must-watch for those who are stepping into the world of practical networking. I started working with GNS3 since the early version 0.8.6, and trust me guys, I've spent more time troubleshooting GNS3 than the actual networks. GNS3 has improved a lot, but even today, I don't feel the confidence while working with GNS3 in Windows, because even though I may have spent hours working on a particular lab, but suddenly if I try to open the same lab tomorrow, it may never load again. Also, another big problem with GNS3 is the resource requirement. No matter how much resource you give it, it still needs more and more, depending, of course, on your lab. So let us try to explore a terrain where we can get both reliability and would be able to utilize our resources optimally, even on the mid-range laptops or desktops, and save that extra money for your cert exams. So let's go. So we are going to start with the installation of GNS3. Before we do that, we will have to add the repository. As you can see, you can add it, and then we'll just update it, select yes or no as per our requirement. Once we do that, then we can run the appliance on my local computer, because it will basically be using the local resources, so we do not have to have any GNS3 VM, as you know. So we will keep it the way it is, and then we will just go to preference and just have a look if everything is fine. And I generally like to keep my projects directory separate. So what I've done here is I've created a separate folder in D drive, and I've kept all the GNS3 configurations in one place. And also I don't like the new look, so I will just keep up with the legacy look. You may choose as per your preference. And once we have that, we now have that GNS3 installed, as you can see. And also along with that, I'm installing Pro FTPDD for FTP, so that we can move around the files from GNS3 and the system. And within the GNS3, we can be able to access those files from whichever machine we need to, whether it might be a Windows VM, whether it might be a router, or anything. So we can move around the file, and I will be using it. And as you can see, okay, ifconfig doesn't work over here. Let me install this nettools. I'll just show the ifconfig. And okay, so now it's installed, and as you can see, my primary interface IP is 192.168.1.11, but we will be using 192.168.122.1, and we will be doing an FTP to myself. So I will just add that IP and the new user which was just created in the FTP, and try to FTP to myself. Okay, let's do okay. Yeah, always allow. Okay, perfect. So now we can see that there is a folder created inside home as user1, which is the new user which we created. And on the left hand side, you can see the files on my drive. So what I will do is I'll move some of the files which I'll be using in the router and probably in the jump server. So I'll just be moving that Cisco Smart Console file and the ASA also. I'll just browse that, because these files, these applications, they do not run in Linux system. It's a bit difficult. So what I'll do is I'll create a virtual machine inside the Ubuntu, rather than having Ubuntu's virtual machine, which will now consume much less resource. So now we have those things in place, and we have added the ASA, ASDM file and Cisco checkpoint smart console. So once we have done with that, now I'm adding the ASA appliance. As you can see, since I've kept the QCOW file, which is the image, and the appliance in the same folder, it auto detects the QCOW file, and you don't have to browse again or look around for it. So once we are done, we have located those files. Now I've added the ASA in GNS3, but now what I will do is I'll bring it in the GNS3 over here. Let's just check the okay, looks like we have got some issue. Your bridge is not available. I cannot run the ASAV file. Mm, let's see what the issue really is. Okay, I cannot. It looks like it is running. On the right hand side, top right, you can see Cisco ASAV is green, but when I double click to get the console, I am not able to do so. And looks like VNC viewer is default and it is set up properly without any issues. Okay, I don't know. Let's see what we can do. I'm just looking around if I can find something. I have VNC viewer installed, which I will be using at later part. So okay, looks like the VNC viewer is not installed in Ubuntu by default. Okay, so I'm not an expert in Ubuntu, so I'm just trying, to make it easier. So you may also face the same issue which I am facing. So it is the same thing, could not start VNC program with command. So either the location is wrong or I may have, uh, given the wrong file name or something. Let me just check. I just checked the location. It doesn't seem to be issue. It is in media or should my documents to TB Ubuntu. So what could be the issue? It's just checking in the background, and so I'll just go to VNC viewer once again. Let me see if okay, GVNC viewer. I think it may work. Let's see. Oh, no, it doesn't work. Okay, good that we can troubleshoot live while making the video. So just exited GNS3 and let's see if I can run it from somewhere. Okay, what I will do is, most of the time a reboot fixes the problem. So what I've done is I've just logged out of the system and logged in again while you were waiting. And I will do the same stuff once again. I will select custom and I will get the location of the file exactly with the file name. So I'll just browse. So here's my VNC viewer. I'll just, copy it and paste it to my home folder. It should work ideally from there as well, but for this demonstration purpose, I don't want to waste your time, so I'm just doing it quickly. So I've copied it, I've created a folder as apps, and in my home folder, let's get the location, and I'll just paste the location over here and slash and the file name, which we can get from here. I'll just copy exactly the way it is. Okay, I have given it executing permission, which should be fine. So I will just paste the file name. Let's do it. Okay, and apply. Okay, double click. Okay, something's happening. I've read and open, and it still doesn't connect. Okay, good troubleshooting session. We are starting again the iOS, but still it doesn't work. I cannot really get it. Okay, settings in VNC looks fine. What could be the issue? Configure. Let's try. No, it is VNC, so not an issue over there in the console. Okay, looks like it has to be. So what I'm doing is I'm just importing as I said, I will be importing Microsoft Windows 10 machine as well as a VM, and I'll be running it so that I can run these applications, ASDM and checkpoints, Smart Console on that virtual machine, because I cannot install it on my Ubuntu machine since I don't have support for it yet. So while it is scanning for it, we will, okay, let's see. Okay, so Windows, it has detected the file again. I'll give the links in the description so you can download them directly. It is free. It's free for 90 days usage, so you can have it here. Okay, I've added one more. I've just added this for testing purpose. So let's see if it works on um, the Windows server or not, because that will also be using the VNC, uh, in the console. So let's start this and double click, and it doesn't work again. So definitely something is wrong in the configuration of GNS3. It's not something specific to ASAV. So let's see. It is probably this. Let me add this one to the okay. It looks like it's gone. So what I'll do is I'll get the exact location, file name, everything again, and I will keep this percentage %h and percentage %p as constant. Let's try that out. So yeah, it will not be an easy task when you're starting to use Ubuntu. It will take a little bit of getting used to the stuff. So you will get a lot of errors, but don't be afraid, because once we have everything set up, it runs like charm. Okay, perfect. Now I am able to. Perfect. So you can see over here, we can see the console and we can see Windows as well. So Windows has booted up, and we can also see the ASAV, which is also booted up, and I am able to see in the console. Okay, I will close this so that we can have a bigger display. So what I will do right now, as you remember, we have one VIBR interface. What I will do is I will add a cloud interface. And that cloud is something where which we can add any interface, which we can, you know, hook it up to the original host. So what I will do is I've added this cloud and I've created a switch, and the switch will be connecting to the cloud. But in the cloud, I will add the interface. Um, Here you see, I have just added the interface in the cloud. By default, it takes the, um, you know, if you go to the configuration in the cloud, you can, by default, it takes the main adapter, but I won't go with that. I will rather go with VIBR, which is a temporary adapter. It's like a loopback, so I will click on show special Ethernet interfaces, and I will add that VIBR 0 interface in here and add it, apply. Okay, oops, I have to disconnect the cloud first. Okay, once again, we will click on show a special interface, and there we go. Now we have that. It's a private environment where we can, okay, add, apply. Okay, be careful, you have to apply and then okay. Okay, now we see that interface is there. We will connect it to the switch, and now both the other devices, that is the ASA and the Windows system, both are connected to the switch. So we should all have access to 192.168.122.1, which is my host machine, Ubuntu machine. So yeah, one more thing which I will do is, which I like doing is, I basically like, to do telnet rather than, I like using the console rather than the VNC viewer for connecting to the ASA, because I cannot copy and paste commands in the VNC. So you can do this. You can just have this copy codem.cg, and you can copy it to disk 0 and use of this command exactly the way it is, and save the configuration, and then you have to reload. After the reload, you should okay, let it reload. It doesn't work that way. Okay, we have to physically reboot from GNS3 as well. So after the reboot, we should be getting on prompt as Lima something. Yeah, there you see, it's Lena to use serial port. So now we are sure that it won't work in the VNC, so we will select telnet. But before we do that, we have to stop the router, the firewall, and configure it again and go to telnet and apply OK. Now we can start it, and once we double click now, we will be now able to open it with the default console application. There you go. So you can now have the copy paste liberty. So now what we will do is we will add a management interface and management IP so that I can connect to the core machine, the Ubuntu machine. So let's see, we have a management interface as 0/0. Just copy that interface management 0/0, and we will add an IP address to it, which should be in the same range. So let's see if I have config and the same range is 122.1. So we'll add something similar to that. Let's make it 192.168.122.11, and subnet would be same thing, 255.255.255.0. And we can give a name to the interface, which I will make it as management 0. And there you go. So we have the management interface configured. And once we are done with that, I have to make it as sorry, IP HTTP doesn't work, it's not router, so it will be HTTP server enable, where we are enabling the HTTP feature on the ASA, and I will give permission to this whole subnet. So this can, this 122.0, the whole subnet can access the ASA from HTTP and using the interface management 0. So because ASA will be connected to ASDM via the HTTP protocol. So it's a must that we have given the required permission to the subnet. And here the password would be by default Microsoft gives it as password exclamation. So as you can see, I'm using very minimum resources, even though I'm running the ASA and I'm running the Windows system. I'm still using only 4.5 gigs of RAM, which is really good if you have a low budget system. So here we can see we have the Windows system set up. I don't like Cortana, so I'll just disable them. Cortana hidden. Okay, fine. We've done that. So now, since FTP is already enabled on my Ubuntu system, I will try to access FTP from here, and perfect. So we have it. We will just use that same credential, user1, and there we can see the ASDM is there, and we also see the Smart Console in my Ubuntu host system. So what I will do is I'll just create a folder in my virtual machine as apps, and I will copy and paste both the files from my core machine via FTP. So as you can see, the files are now being copied, and there you go, they are being copied. And so here the ASDM's installed setup is there, so I don't need to install ASDM separately. It's already an installed setup which is there. But okay, so we can open the file. Okay, so you see the ASDM launcher is there. Okay, it's a Java file, so we will also need Java to be installed in this virtual machine for us to be able to use the ASDM. So what I'll do is I will just copy the Java file again, Java setup, which I had downloaded earlier, and So I will have to install two things in this machine. So the first thing would be I have to install Java, for which I just copied, and the other thing which I will have to install is this is checkpoint smart console file. So perfect. So I've just by mistake I had downloaded the online version, so I'll just remove that. I've just deleted and I have pasted the entire offline setup of the JRE Java file, so it shouldn't be downloading anything from the internet. I can directly install it on the PC with the offline installer. So it will just go on, and as you can see, the resource consumption is quite less. This is basically for those people who want stability in their system. So we have Java installed, and we will also so as you can see, we are able to open ASDM. Fingers crossed. Okay, yeah, perfect. So I can open the ASDM now because JRE installed and it is getting the required Java setup from there. So let's see what we can do next. We can one. I'll just log into the ASA from here. Oh shit! I forgot to add the user user account in the ASA. I'll just add it. Username admin, password admin. That should be good to go. And I haven't really unshed the port, which is a common mistake that most of the people do. So I've just created the account and unshed the port, and I should be able to log into the firewall. Should be able to get in. Oops. See what's wrong now? Um, let's do show interface IP brief, and the interface is up. Okay, looks yeah perfect. So just okay, it just took its time. So now I'm able to log into the ASDM as you guys can see, and it has loaded all the setup, and I can see the management interface to be up, and we can go to configuration, firewall, and we can just I'll just go through them. So just checking if everything is showing properly. So interfaces, all the interfaces are here. Traffic zones, we haven't created any. We can see the routing information. We don't have any routing information as of now. The host name is there, Cisco ASA. We can change that. You can go to the licensing. As of now, we do not have any license, so it's good to go without the license as well. And as you can see, we had just created this admin account and it's there. And in the tools, we have all the options. So it looks like a good setup, I would say. Please comment on the video. What do you think? I also like to preview the commands before sending them to the device. So if you want to know what is going into your device, you would really like to check that and click on OK, because that gives you an idea, later on if you want to get familiar with the CLI as well. That's really helpful during the troubleshooting sessions, because I'm more comfortable troubleshooting through CLI rather than the GUI. Just testing an interface, just creating over here. Let's see if it works. I think it should. Just creating some more interfaces outside, and so I've just labeled this gig0/0 as outside interface. Enable interface. The rest of the things will be default. So let's try to push this command. As you can see, now we can see whatever command we are putting in. If we click on apply and send it, we can see exactly what is going on onto the firewall. So that gives a very good visibility for learning. We shouldn't always be relying on the GUI. We should, be comfortable with the CLI. So I would highly recommend going through it. And this is a really good setup for a low-end machine, I would say. And the other good thing about it is, it has a good stability. because in Windows I really had a very hard time in setting up things. I used to do everything from scratch and configuring everything, and then suddenly next day when I used to start the project, it just won't work. So, and I tested it a few times in Ubuntu, and it doesn't really give any trouble. Also in Windows, I have faced that if I add multiple devices, I tried experimenting with the ASA and Palo Alto and Checkpoint together. I mean, two of each of them, so there were six firewalls, and it was giving some error sometimes. Sometimes it was not giving the error. But if I was starting the same project again the next day, or maybe a few times later on, then it did give me a lot of trouble. It just won't start, and I had to do that all over again and again. I had wasted my time like 2 to 3 times, and then I got fed up with it. So ultimately, that's all I would say, which I have for firewall ASA configuration. Please stay tuned. I will be coming up with more videos with more interesting tutorials while configuring GNS3 and Ubuntu and the other firewalls as well. So I'm just starting to learn a few things. I'm setting up my labs, and I would be really happy to help you guys set up your own lab at the lowest configuration possible, and to get the best use of it. Thank you guys. Thanks a lot for watching me, and hope you have a good time. Thank you. Stay safe.